We're going to go live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
You're a little excessive.
Hello, and welcome to Cabin Fever Radio Novelas. This is Season 3. Can you believe we're at Season 3 already? I
Look at
can.
the production values.
Because, that's how you do it, right? Chat. Sweet. Okay, cool. Last minute thing.
We've never had a floating head as a guest before.
No. And that's the best part because, as you know, we're an isolated group of talented actors and creators that come together to stave off their madness and yours and keep us all entertained through dramatic readings of your favorite movies and TV shows, along with original material. And this episode is sponsored by Ruano Films, but we'll hear more about them later in the show. I am your host for the evening, Mr. David Franzoni, and this season we have something very special for you guys. We are going to be focusing on feature-length films. So stay tuned for a little bit more about that, but I do want to introduce our amazingly talented cast, starting off with Robert Christopher Smith, Marissa Martin, Jess Barnell, Braxton Ray, Kelsey Jaffer, and of course, Rob Fury. And as we said, this season we're featuring on feature-length films, if I can enunciate correctly. And what do we have today? We have something very special. We have Gladiator, written by David Franzoni. Either way, it's going to be a movie that pretty much changed the historic fiction dramas in films because they brought other great films like Troy, like Clash of the Titans, and many, many more. And this script will be breaking it down into 2 episodes. We were able to break down the whole film into 2 episodes. So this is episode 1 of The Gladiator. And if you guys are ready and roaring to go, we could roll on into it. This is Gladiator, and you are listening to Cabin Fever Radio.
A close-up. A rough, weathered hand lightly brushes the tops of wheat as a man walks through the tall wheat towards a woman, his wife, and child, his son. In the background can be heard the faint laughter of a child. The man dressed in Roman soldier uniform is General Maximus. He quickly leaves this pleasant vision to return to Germania, where the armor-suited general stands amidst the mud and burned forest, cloaked in a fur cape that protects him from the cold winter air. The general contemplates the battle that is to take place. Turning to join the troops, a small robin catches his eye as it sits on a bare twig and then flies away. The General Maximus smiles, watching as though a remembrance of his life as a farmer when this life was peaceful and innocent. But he is quickly and brought back to the reality of the cold day. Oops, hold on. And to the soldiers who await his signal to begin the battle. The scene. Germania, pre-battle, as the cavalry rides past Maximus. Soldiers are lining up for battle. Maximus walks along the ranks of the army. The soldiers rise as he approaches, looking at him with great respect and admiration. At the top of the hill, overlooking the battlefield, sits Caesar Marcus Aurelius atop his horse, surrounded by the Roman Praetorian guards. Back on the battlefield, Maximus approaches and addresses Quintus and Valerius.
Lean and hungry. Still nothing?
Sorry.
How long has he been gone?
Nearly 2 hours. Will they fight, sir?
We shall know soon enough.
Soldier, I ordered you to move those catapults forward. They're out of range.
Range is good.
The danger to the cavalry.
It is acceptable. Agreed?
In the distance, the cry of the barbarians can be heard. Ihr seid Hunde! You are dogs. A horse rides from the German line with headless horsemen on its back.
They say no.
The white and bloodied horse rides within the ranks of the Roman soldiers. A barbarian comes to the forefront of the German lines, waving the horseman's hand, tossing it into the mud.
Ihr seid verflucht Hunde.
You are dogs. As the barbarian calls out his cry, his mangy band of barbarians emerge from the forest, shaking and waving their spears and shields, ready to fight.
Know when they are conquered.
Would you, Quintus? Would I?
Maximus bends down and picks up a handful of dirt, bringing it to his nose to smell. He looks to the side and sees his wolf of Rome eagerly watching him. They steady their gaze as though communicating with each other. Maximus rises and mounts his horse, turning to Quintus and Valerius.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
At my signal, unleash hell!
He rides off. His wolf breaks free from the handler, charges after Maximus, running alongside the horse.
Load the catapults. Infantry form up for advance. Archers ready?
Archers,
Knock!
knock.
Maximus rides up in the forest where the cavalry await his wolf, running closely at his side. Maximus stops and addresses the men.
3 weeks from now, I will be harvesting my crops. Imagine where you will be, and will be. Imagine where you will be, and it will be so. Hold the lines. Stay with me. If you find yourself alone, riding in the green fields with the sun on your face, do not be troubled, for you are in Elysium, and you are already dead. Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity.
Barely seen, a soldier hands Maximus his helmet. Maximus turns to an archer and nods, giving the signal to unleash hell, and a flaming arrow is shot through the sky. Back on the battlefield, the flaming arrow is witnessed, and all hell breaks loose.
Pull! Pull!
Cohorts ready, sir.
Archers, ignite! Ignite! Archers, draw!
Loose!
Scorpions fire, onagers let loose. Flaming arrows, defiant cheers from the mob. As Maximus leads the thundering cavalry down through the trees, shouts can be heard from Maximus and his men.
Line!
Make ready!
The line! Stay with me. Stay with me.
The Felix Legion advancing, then tortoise formation, then barbarian charge. Maximus Wolf leaps through a wall of flames. The cavalry reaches the Germans. Swords are flying as they attack each other. Maximus charges at a barbarian, slicing his head off as his sword becomes impaled in a tree. Maximus' horse is felled when a barbarian thrusts a lance in its path, causing Maximus to fall hard into the mud. Amongst the soldiers, Maximus looks stunned, but as a German attacks him with his axe, Maximus parries each thrust with before lashing out and cutting the German's legs from under him. The German collapses. Another German charges Maximus, who is still on the ground. Maximus manages to slide past the oncoming sword. He punches the soldier, then stabs him. He climbs to his feet, still stabbing at the wounded German. Maximus starts running, but collides with another legionary. Maximus turns toward the startled legionary, who can only stand there agape as Maximus raises his sword in a feral scream. Cut to this barbarian warlord. The barbarian warlord finishes off a legionary, but before he has time to recover, another legionary rushes and stabs him in the side. The barbarian stumbles but does not fall. Another soldier strikes him from the other side, but he still does not fall. Finally, a soldier strikes him from behind. A noose is thrust from above into his neck. Scene cuts to a centurion who falls from his horse. Then back to Maximus. Maximus punches a German twice before slashing him across the chest with his sword. Maximus hears another German scream coming from behind, startled as he runs to see a barbarian whose clothes and chainmail are aflame, charging towards him with an axe. Maximus parries the first swing but goes down. As the barbarian raises his axe for the final swing, a charging cavalryman rushes in with a timely swing of his sword, and the barbarian falls, saving Maximus from death. Another barbarian sees Maximus and charges, but only to be stopped in mid-swing by the wolf. We see a scene where a cavalryman falls from his horse, dead. Another scene with a legionary crying Maximus and another legionary gathering themselves between the standards. The brutal battle is over, with the legionaries wandering, slaying wounded Germans. Maximus raises his sword, crying out,
Roma Victor!
Other legionnaires raise their swords and cheer. Help! Maximus the remaining Roman soldiers at his side as he raises his sword and, exhausted again, cries out for all to hear.
Roma Victor!
Roma Victor!
Roma Victor.
At the top of the hill, Caesar Marcus Aurelius slowly leans his head back in relief of victory. We change scenes. Roadway, guarded armored wagon is slowly moving along. In it, Commodus and Lucilla, as they make their way to their father, Marcus Aurelius.
Do you think he's really dying?
He's been dying for 10 years.
If he weren't really dying, he wouldn't have sent for us.
Maybe he just misses us.
And the senators? He wouldn't have summoned them if...
Peace, Commodus. After 2 weeks on the road, your incessant scheming is hurting my head.
He's made his decision. He's going to announce it. He will name me. You know, the first thing I shall do is honor him with games worthy of his majesty.
For now, the first thing I shall do is have a hot bath.
There is a knock on the wagon as it comes to a halt. An unseen attendant calls out, Your Highness! Commodus steps out. We look to be almost there, sire.
Where's the emperor?
At the front, sire. They've been gone for 19 days. The wounded are still coming in.
My horse?
Commodus mounts his horse. He likes that. Looks back at Lucilla and hesitantly asks.
Kiss?
To which she kisses her hand and tosses her hand his way. We change scenes again, back to the battlefield where the light snow continues to fall. Maximus has found his sword impaled in the tree during battle. He removes the sword as he turns. Marcus walks up amidst the soldiers as they stand and bow in his honor. Marcus walks to Maximus.
You have proven your valor yet again, Maximus. Let us hope for the last time.
There is no one left to fight, sire.
There is always someone left to fight, Maximus. Tell me, how can I reward Rome's greatest general?
The battle-weary Maximus, face splattered with the blood of his enemy, blood body drained from the exertion of the battle, thinks momentarily and simply replies.
Let me go home.
Ah, home.
They walk together.
They honor you, Caesar.
It is you, Maximus. They honor you.
Maximus stops momentarily and raises his sword overhead. The army cheers even louder. In the distance, Commodus and his guards atop their horses witness Maximus with his father. Hears the cheers and quickly races down to join them.
Have I missed it? Have I missed the battle?
You have missed the wall.
Well, congratulations. I shall sacrifice 100 bulls to honor your triumph.
Save the bulls. Honor Maximus. He won the battle.
General.
Highness.
Rome salutes you, and I embrace you as a brother. It has been too long, old friend.
Highness.
Maximus bows and Commodus turns to his father.
Here, father, take my arm.
I think it is time for me to leave.
Commodus appears embarrassed that his father would not accept his help, and he looks at Maximus with envy and scorn. Marcus gets on his horse, and Maximus quickly hands his sword to Quintus, while he assists Marcus in settling onto his horse.
So much for the glory of Rome.
And Marcus leaves. We change our scene to the tent where a party is taking place. Music and laughter fill the air. Maximus enters, washes his hands in a bowl of water, seemingly stained with the blood of battle. Maximus looks into the crowd and sees Marcus and Commodus within. He then moves towards Quintus and Valerius.
General.
Still alive?
Still alive.
The gods must have a sense of humor.
The gods must love you.
Valerius.
Says,
Back to your barracks, General, or to Rome?
Home. The wife. The son. The harvest.
Maximus the farmer. I still have difficulty imagining that.
You know, Quintus, dirt cleans off a lot easier than blood.
Here he is.
Highness.
Senator Gaius, Senator Falco. Beware of Gaius. He will pour honeyed potion into your ear, and you will wake up one day, and all you'll say is, Republic, Republic, Republic.
Ah, well, Rome was founded as a republic.
Yes, and in a republic, the Senate has the power. But Senator Gaius is not influenced by that, of course.
Where do you stand, General? Emperor or Senate?
A soldier has the advantage of being able to look at his enemy in his eye, Senator.
You know, with any army behind you, you could be extremely political.
I warned you, but I shall save you, senators. I'm going to need good men like you.
How may I be of service, Highness?
You are a man who knows what it is to command. You give your orders, the orders are obeyed, and the battle is won. But these senators, they scheme and squabble and flatter and deceive. Maximus, we must save Rome from the politicians. Can I count on you when the time comes?
Highness, when your father releases me, I intend to return home.
Home, well, no one has earned it more. Don't get too comfortable. I may call on you before long. Lucilla is here. Did you know? She has not forgotten you. And now you are the great man.
we change scenes again. Lucilla and her maid are seen peering out from the tent to where Commodus and Maximus talk. Eyeing Maximus, Lucilla murmurs,
Maximus.
Marcus enters the tent and they quickly stop when he catches their attention.
If only you had been born a man, what a Caesar you would have made.
Father.
They walk and she kisses his cheek.
You would have been strong. I wonder, would you have been just?
I would have been what you taught me to be.
Oh. How was your journey?
Long, uncomfortable, Why have I come?
I need your help with your brother.
Of course.
He loves you. He always has, and he will need you now more than ever. Enough of politics. Let us pretend that you are a loving daughter and I am a good father.
This is a pleasant fiction, isn't it?
We change scenes again. Camp. Fire pits warm the air. Light snow falls. Maximus walks, greeting and congratulating the men as they rest, eat, and sharpen their swords. Maximus approaches, his horse stroking its head, and his attention is caught by the sound of swords clashing amongst the trees. He sees Commodus and his guards shirtless as they exercise sword maneuvers in the cold. Commodus is an excellent swordsman. We change scenes yet again to Marcus's tent, where Marcus sits hunched over his desk because he's old and he's writing on a tablet. Marcus enters and Marcus does not look up. Maximus enters and Marcus does not look up. Excuse me.
You sent for me, Caesar.
No response. Maximus turns to look at the weak and old Marcus.
Caesar?
Tell me again, Maximus, why are we here?
For the glory of the Empire, sir.
Ah, yes. Yes, I remember. You see that map, Maximus? That is the world which I created. For 25 years, I have conquered, spilt blood, expanded the empire. Since I become Caesar, I have known 4 years without war. 4 years of peace in 20. And for what? I brought the sword, nothing more.
Caesar, your life.
Please don't call me that. Come, please, come sit. Let us talk now, together, very simply as man. Well, Maximus, talk.
Of many of my men out there freezing in the mud, 3,000 of them are bloodied and cleaved. 2,000 will never leave this place. I will not believe that they fought and died for nothing.
And what would you believe?
They fought for you and for Rome.
And what is Rome, Maximus?
I have seen much of the rest of the world. It is brutal and cruel and dark. Rome is light.
Yet you've never been there. You have not seen what it has become. I am dying, Maximus. When a man sees his end, he wants to know that there has been some purpose to his life. How will the world speak my name in years to come? Will I be known as the philosopher, the warrior, the tyrant? Or will I be the emperor who gave Rome back to her true self? There was once a dream that was Rome. You could only whisper, anything more than a whisper, and it would vanish. It was so fragile, and I fear that it will not survive the winter. Maximus, let us whisper now, together, you and I. You have a son. Tell me about your home.
Maximus looks a little surprised at the invitation to hear of his home, but eagerly and proudly he describes it. A peaceful happiness overcomes him as he speaks.
My house is on the hills above Trujillo. A very simple place. Pink stones that warm in the sun. Kitchen garden that smells of herbs in the day, jasmine in the evening. Through the gates is a giant pillar. Figs, apples, pears. The soil mark is black. Black like my wife's hair. Grapes of the south slopes. Olives on the north. Wild ponies play near my house. They tease my son. He wants to be one of them.
Maximus, when was the last time you were home?
2 years, 264 days, and this morning.
I envy you, Maximus. It is a good home, worth fighting for. There is one more duty that I ask of you before you go home.
Maximus rises, the soldier that he is, respectfully to attention.
What will you have me do, Caesar?
I want you to become the protector of Rome after I die. I will empower you to one end alone, to give power back to the people of Rome and end the corruption that has crippled it. Will you accept this great honor that I have offered?
With all my heart, no.
Maximus, that is why it must be you.
But surely a prefect, a senator, someone who knows the city, who understands her politics.
But you have not been corrupted by her politics.
And Commodus?
Commodus is not a moral man. You have known that since you were young. Commodus cannot rule. He must not rule. You are the son that I should have had. Commodus will accept my decision. He knows that you command the loyalty of the army.
I need some time, sir.
Yes. By sunset, I hope, you will have agreed. Now embrace me as my son and bring an old man another blanket.
We change scenes. As Maximus leaves Marcus' tent, he hesitates outside, with a troubled look upon his face. Lucilla steps out from the adjacent tent. She appears to have been waiting for him.
My father favors you now.
My lady,
'Twas not always so.
many things change.
Many things. Not everything. Maximus, stop. Let me see your face. You seem upset.
I lost many men.
What did my father want with you?
To wish me well before I leave for home.
You're lying. You could always tell when you were lying because you were never any good at it.
He looks at her sharply and approaches.
I never acquired your comfort with it.
True. But then you never had to. Life is more simple for a soldier. Or do you think me heartless?
I think you have a talent for survival.
Maximus, stop. Is it really so terrible seeing me again?
No, I'm tired from battle.
It hurts you to see my father so fragile. Commodus expects my father to announce succession within days. Will you serve my brother as you have served my father?
I will always serve Rome.
You know, I still remember you in my prayers. Oh, yes, I pray.
I was sad to hear your husband's death. I mourned him.
Thank you.
And I hear you have a son.
Yes, Lucius. He will be nearly 8 years old.
My son is nearly 8. I thank you for your prayers.
We change scenes. Maximus returns to his tent where he prays as he kneels in front of the shrine of his ancestors and family.
Ancestors, I ask you from your guidance, Blessed Mother, come to me with your God's desire of my future. Blessed Father, watch over my wife and my son with a ready sword. Whisper to them that I live only to hold them again. Ancestors, I honor you and will try to live with the dignity you have taught me.
Maximus tenderly and longingly kisses the figurine of his wife, stands and moves to sit on a chair as he calls to his friend and servant, Cicero.
Cicero, do you find it hard to do your duty?
Sometimes I do what I want to do. The rest of the time, I do what I have to do.
We may not be able to go home after all.
We change scenes.
Well, on that note, we're going to do a quick little change to thank our sponsor for today.
Yay!
This episode is sponsored by Ruano Film. Have you ever had an idea for a movie or TV show but don't know where to start? It can seem very daunting when you start to realize all the manpower you'll need, from a director, camera op, first AC, sound, boom up, line producer, G&E, editor, colorist, etc., etc. Don't even mention someone to handle the budget and schedule of the project. But no need to fear, Ruano Films is here. Ruano Films is a production company that works hand in hand with indie filmmakers, writers, actors, and creators, and can handle all the logistics to produce a film and turn your idea into reality. So, if you are ready to make that movie idea you can't stop thinking about, like Gladiator, contact Ruano Films for a free consultation by mentioning Cabin Fever Radio via their contact page at ruanofilms.com. That is RUANOFILMS.com. Don't forget to mention Cabin Fever Radio. They will help you get the ball rolling and make that movie.
Ruano Films.
Look into my eyes. Commodus
And now to something completely different.
Commodus has entered Marcus' tent, gazing at the statue of his father. He reaches up and touches its face as Marcus enters from behind.
Are you ready to do your duty for Rome?
Yes, Father.
You will not be emperor.
Which wiser, older man is to take my place?
My powers will pass to Maximus to hold in trust until the Senate is ready to rule once more. Rome is to become a republic again.
Maximus?
Marcus moves his hand to touch Commodus' face. Commodus, however, turns away.
My decision disappoints you?
You wrote to me once, listing the 4 chief virtues: wisdom, justice, fortitude, and temperance. As I read the list, I knew I had none of them. But I have other virtues, Father. Ambition, that can be a virtue when it drives us to excel. Resourcefulness, courage. Perhaps not on the battlefield, but there are many other forms of courage. Devotion to my family, to you. But none of my virtues were on your list. Even then, it was as if you didn't want me for your son.
Oh, Commodus, you go too far.
I searched the faces of the gods for ways to please you, to make you proud. One kind word, one full hug while you pressed me to your chest and held me tight would have been like the sun on my heart for 1,000 years. What is it in me that you hate so much? All I ever wanted was to live up to you, Caesar. Father.
Commodus, your faults as a son is my failure as a father.
Stretches his arms out to Commodus, seeking forgiveness. Commodus slowly embraces him, and together they weep.
Father, I would butcher the whole world if you would only have loved me.
Marcus still kneeling. Commodus presses his father tightly against his body, smothering him. As Marcus struggles to be free but fails. All the while, Commodus cries and moans in pain as though a child. We change scenes. Maximus is sleeping on his cot, and Quintus quietly enters to wake him. Maximus quickly brandishes a knife, smiling with a hint of embarrassment when he sees it is Quintus.
Maximus, the Emperor needs you. It is urgent.
Together they return to Marcus' tent. As Maximus reaches the tent, the tarp is pulled back, and there stands Commodus.
Lament with me, brother. Our great father is dead.
He checks,
How did he-
Maximus checks him for life.
How did he die?
The surgeon said there was no pain. His breath gave out as he slept.
Father.
Your emperor asks for your loyalty, Maximus. Take my hand. I only offer it once.
Screw your couch.
Maximus turns away from Marcus, looks at Lucilla as she sits in the corner, eyes moist with grief. Maximus, in disbelief, ignores Commodus, walks past him and out to the tent, calling to Quintus. Commodus turns to Quintus, who looks back with a pained acknowledgement of orders that have already been given. Lucilla steps out from the corner, turns to Commodus, looks into his eyes, and slaps him, then picks up his hand and kisses it.
Hail Caesar.
We change scenes. Maximus' tent as he rushes in, buckling his armor as Cicero assists him. Maximus hurriedly calls out orders. I must talk to the senators. I need their counter. Wake, fires, Gaius, and Falco, sword! Before Cicero can handle Maximus' sword, Quintus enters.
Maximus, please be careful. That was not prudent.
Prudent? The Emperor has been slain.
The Emperor died of natural causes.
Quintus, why are you armed?
Guards! Maximus, please do not fight. I am sorry. Caesar has spoken.
Cicero looks at Maximus as if to hand him his sword, but Maximus shakes his head. No. Quintus turns to the Praetorian guards.
Ride him until dawn and then execute him.
Quintus, look at me. Look at me! Promise me that you will look after my family.
Your family will meet you in the doctrine.
No!
Maximus struggles, and one of the guards hits him across the back of the head with a sword. So we switch scenes. Maximus is about to be executed. The guard tells Maximus to kneel. As the assassin positions himself, Maximus prays within. Blessed Father, watch over my wife and son. Whisper to them that I live only to hold them again, he says. Then Maximus asks the chief guard.
At least can you give me a clean death? A soldier's death.
The chief guard nods yes. And the assassin changes positions behind Maximus. As the assassin raises his sword with speed, Maximus successfully disarms the guard about to kill him. Grabbing the sword with his hands, he fatally stabs him and then turns to the chief guard, who can't remove his sword from his sheath.
The frost. Sometimes it makes the blade stick.
With a roar, Maximus swings the sword at the guard, cutting him across the face, killing him. Another guard on horse moves forward, and the swishing sound of the sword can be heard whoosh, as it comes spinning through the air, striking the guard dead. Maximus turns to the remaining guard, who is on horse, drinking from a bottle of whiskey to warm himself from the cold. How dare you! Maximus cries out,
Praetorian!
The Praetorian turns to see Maximus standing with a sword, tosses down the bottle and rides at him, but Maximus swings his sword as the Praetorian passes. Maximus stands ready to fight again, but the Praetorian falls from his horse, having been fatally wounded. Maximus has been severely wounded to the arm. Having killed each of the Praetorian, Maximus takes 2 horses for his long journey home. After a long run, exhausted, Maximus finally comes to a rest. He sits fireside, nursing his wound. His mind races with thoughts of his family and what Marcus earlier asked him.
When was the last time you were home?
2 years, 264 days, and this morning, blessed Father, watch over them with a ready sword, with the dignity you have taught me. Whisper to them that I live only to hold them again, my wife and son, with a ready sword, for all else is death and air. Whisper that I live only to hold them again, for all else is death and air. We change scenes. As Maximus continues his journey home on horseback, Maximus has a vision of his home. Wheat fields. Beautiful wheat fields. His son playing with a white pony while his wife watches. Sounds weird. Suddenly, the vision changes to one of harm, of the Praetorian riding toward his home, and as they arrive, trampling his son, and as his wife looks on helplessly, Maximus regains full control, races to reach his family, the wound on his arm bleeding profusely. His horse, sweaty, breathing loudly and exhausted, strains under the run. As he nears his home, black smoke of fires over his home can be seen. It's not good news. His horse, spent, gives out. Maximus to the dirt as he groans heavily. The vision was an actuality. I skipped a line, but it doesn't matter. Maximus struggles to stand and stumbles the remainder of the way to his home. As he nears the home, he views bodies burnt, everything destroyed, fields smoking. In the distance, he sees 2 bodies hanging overhead. As he approaches, he can identify the bodies of his wife and son. A Bedouin troop comes across the scene and finds Maximus' body lying on top of the 2 graves of his wife and son. They're heard to say, Haramish Hui? This one's not alive? Ma'aji. I don't know. Hui! He's alive. Calabash Hu! Shackle him. Haramish Hui! I think this one's still alive. The Bedouin whisk him away. Maximus finds himself on a wagon. He is sipping in and out of consciousness. Slipping, not sipping. He is slipping in and out of consciousness to the afterlife. A sound startles him and he comes back to this life. He is dazed and hallucinating, tripping balls, people. Scenes of him chained and scenes of the figurines of his wife and son quickly flash across his mind. The soft voice of a Numidian slave we will later come to know as Juba.
You will meet them again, but not yet.
Maximus looks at his wound, which is infested with maggots, delicious maggots. He begins to remove them.
No, they will clean it. Wait and see.
The caravan carrying the slave winds its way through the vast desert. Juba, watching over the new slave, cautions him.
Don't die. They'll feed you to the lions. They're worth more than we. Better now, clean, see?
In Zucaba, a Roman province, at the bazaar, Proximo sits at a table and the slave trader approaches Proximo to greet him.
Proximo, old friend. Today is your most fortunate day.
Proximo mistrustingly looks at the slave trader and grabs the trader's crotch. The trader looks startled and in pain.
Those giraffes you sold me, they won't mate. They just walk around eating, not mating. You sold me queer giraffes. I want my money back.
Not a chance. Oh, I give two special price for you.
On what?
Have you seen my new stock? Come and see them.
Proximo looks back and releases the balls with one final squeeze. Together they walk toward the marketplace. We change our scene to that marketplace, to the market where the slaves await their sale.
Do any of them fight? I have a match coming up.
Some of them are good for fighting, others are for dining. You need both, I think.
Get up!
Proximo examines Juba, slapping his body to check his muscles.
What was your trade?
I was a hunter.
No, I bought him from a salt mine in Carthage.
Maximus sits on the dirt, weak and lifeless. Proximo pokes at his gashed arm alongside the SPQR insignia of his Roman army thing.
Mark of the Legion.
That.
Certain?
Maybe. Who cares? He's a Spaniard.
I will take 6 for 1,000.
The Numidian alone is worth 2,000.
These slaves are rotten.
It adds to the flavor.
Proximo begins to walk away.
No, wait. We can negotiate.
I'll give you 2,000 and another 4 for the beasts. That's 5,000 for an old friend.
And strange math. We change scenes. Proximo's slaves carry him on a sedan. Proximo impatiently orders them to hurry.
Come on, how long does it take to get into my own house?
In front of the line of slaves, as they are being dusted with lime for pests and disease, Proximo addresses the slaves. As this takes place, a lion is seen in a cage as he is being fed human parts, while vultures tear at the remains of a pile of corpses. Other slaves are exercising their skills as one is seen getting impaled with an arrow.
I am Proximo. I shall be closer to you for the next few days, which will be the last of your miserable lives, than that bitch of a mother that brought you screaming into this world. I did not pay good money for you for your company. I paid it so that I could profit from your death, and as your mother was there at your beginning, so I shall be there at your end. And when you die, and die you shall, your transition shall be to the sound of Gladiator. I salute you.
We change scenes. We like doing that. Training at Proximo's camp as each slave goes up for a test of skill. Proximo can be heard calling out,
Red. Yellow.
The next fighter is Juba, who picks up the wooden sword given to them for their testing and fiercely fights back as Hagen tests him.
Good. Red.
Juba looks at Hagen with honor and having one red.
Spaniard!
Maximus curiously looks at Hagen, walks up and tosses the sword to the ground. He's having none of that. Maximus refuses to fight. With Proximo's approval, Hagen slams his sword into Maximus' stomach, causing Maximus to collapse. But he stands back up in defiance. Hagen hits him a second time, and Maximus falls to the ground again. Proximo stops Hagen as he is about to make the third blow, calling out,
That is enough for the moment. His time will come.
Maximus looks at Hagen with a slight grin and turns and walks away.
Next.
We change scenes. Where the slaves are kept, Juba kneels at the doorway, looking at Maximus, the Spaniard, and asks,
Spaniard, why don't you fight? We all have to fight. Is that a sign of your gods?
Maximus nods with a slight sense of humor at the question.
Will that not anger them?
Maximus nods again, his smile very wry as he continues to painfully scrape the insignia from his flesh. We change scenes. The slaves, shackled together to a pole, walk through the marketplace where dyed red yarn hangs overhead, dripping onto them as they make their way to the arena. A white bull is seen with red dye poured along its back. Proximo walks under a large umbrella to protect him from the dripping dye.
Gods favor you. Red is the gods' color. You'll need their help today.
At the arena, under the bleachers, the crowd can be heard stamping their feet, cheering, "Yay!" Proximo gives the gladiators a talk of encouragement. After all, they are there to make him money before they go out for their first fight.
Some of you are thinking you won't fight, some that you can't. They all say that until they are out there, thrust this into another man's flesh and they will applaud and love you for that. You may begin to love them for that. Ultimately, we're all dead men. Sadly, we cannot choose how, but we can decide how we meet that end in order that we are remembered as men.
Maximus listens intently. He bends down and picks up a handful of dirt, rubbing it between his hands. He plays with dirt throughout his story. He's decided to fight. He will not lose the honor of being a man. They are paired off, red with yellow. Maximus is paired with Juba. Hagen is paired with a frail and frightened slave. Standing in the gateway before they enter the arena, the frightened slave in front of Maximus loses control from fear and relieves himself with a little bit of urine down his leg. Maximus views this and steps back. He doesn't want to stand and pee. Hagen is seen closing his eyes, perhaps in prayer, before he enters. The door to the arena is thrown open, and the first fighter, he's got spiked, punky hair, runs face first into the Morning Star, which is being swung by one of the armored opponents. Blood splatters everywhere. It's beautiful. The fighters pan out and everyone runs into the arena. Proximo runs to the edge of the arena to look down onto his fighters, sizing them up for skill. Juba starts to follow an opponent, but Maximus quickly takes control of the fight, pulling Juba back. Meanwhile, Hagen is with the frightened slave who is screaming in fear, covered in piss and crouching down while Hagen fights. Then the opponent thrusts his sword into the frightened slave, who falls down, dead. Hagen, needing to be free of the corpse, cuts away the chained hand and uses it to swing as a weapon itself. As the fight continues, Hagen lifts and plants another opponent on the horns which adorn the arena. Maximus fights with his shield, Juba with a sword. When the final opponent is reached, Juba is standing behind Maximus with his hand on Maximus' shoulder. Max, the muscular opponent, the heavily masked and carrying a trident, stands fiercely against Maximus and Juba. Maximus turns the trident back into the opponent, and together, Maximus and Juba spear him like a fish right in the... The opponent withdraws the trident from his own body and his guts spill out everywhere. He goes back on the attack. Maximus and Juba, working as one, run at the opponent, using the chain that joins them to catch him at the throat, knocking him at the ground. Maximus, Juba, and Hagen. And the remaining slaves stand exhausted in the arena while the crowd roars. Sorry. We changed scenes and I lost my wig almost. Grand view of Rome, as seen from the steps of the Senate. The Roman troops have formed along the streets. People are cheering. Yet there's a small faction seen angrily yelling. The likely Trump voters. The senators stand at the steps of the Senate, waiting Lucius at the side, as the new Caesar and Lucilla enter on chariots, surrounded by Praetorian.
He enters Rome like a conquering hero. But what has he conquered?
Give him time. He's young. I think he could do very well.
For Rome or for you? Go to your mother, Lucius. It's what she would want.
Mother!
Lucius.
Senators,
Rome greets her new emperor. Your loyal subjects bid you welcome, Highness.
thank you, Falco. And for the loyal subjects, I trust they were not too expensive.
Rome rejoices in your return. There are many matters that require your attention.
We change scenes to the Senate, where all the senators are gathered. Senator Gracchus is speaking while Commodus, seemingly bored and gaining impatient, sits twirling the tip of his sword on the marbled floor.
Caesar, the Senate has prepared a series of protocols to address the many problems in the city, beginning with basic sanitation for the Greek quarter to combat the plague which has already sprung up. So,
Shh. Okay. Don't you see, Gracchus? That's the very problem, isn't it? My father spent all his time at study, reading books, learning his philosophy. He spent his twilight hours reading scrolls from the Senate. All the while, the people were forgotten.
the Senate is the people, sire, chosen from the people to speak for the people.
I doubt if many people eat so well as you do, Gracchus, or have such splendid mistresses as you, Gaius. I think I understand my own people.
Perhaps Caesar would be so kind as to teach us out of his own extensive experience.
I call it love. I call it love. The people are my children, and I am their father. I shall hold them to my bosom and embrace them tightly.
Have you ever embraced someone dying of the plague, sire?
Commodus stops, his sword held behind his head with both hands, as though to be resting his head on it. Slowly turning around, he looks at Gracchus. Lucilla, sensing potential danger, raises to intervene. A lethal moment.
No. But if you interrupt me again, I assure that you shall.
Senator, my brother is very tired. Leave the list with me. Your emperor will do all that Rome requires.
My lady, as always, your lightest touch commands obedience.
We change scenes. We find ourselves at the palace. Lucilla returning from the Senate.
Who are they to lecture me?
Commodus, the Senate has its uses.
What uses? All they do is talk. It should be just you and Rome.
Don't even think it, Commodus. There has always been a Senate.
Rome has changed. It takes an emperor to rule an empire.
Of course, but leave the people their
Illusions.
traditions.
My father's war against the barbarians, he said it himself, it achieved nothing. But people still loved him.
People always love victories.
But why? They don't see the battles? What do they care about Germania?
They care about the greatness of Rome.
Greatness of Rome? But what is that?
It's an idea. Greatness. Greatness is a vision.
Exactly. A vision. Do you not see, Lucilla? I will give the people a vision and they will love me for it. They will soon forget the tedious sermonizing of a few dry old men. I will give them the greatest vision of their lives.
Scene change. Between Gaius and Gracchus at a restaurant, discussing the games which Commodus revived to lure the mob. Outside can be seen a juggler, merchants calling out their wares, and the crowd visiting and moving about.
Games! 150 days of games.
He's clever than I thought.
Clever? the whole of Rome,
And let's do that again.
the whole of Rome would be laughing at him if they weren't in fear of his praetorian.
Fear and wonder, a powerful combination.
Will the people really be seduced by that?
I think he knows what Rome is. Rome is the mob. He would conjure magic for them, and they will be distracted. He will take away their freedom, and still they will roar. The beating heart of Rome is not the marble in the Senate. It is the sand of the Colosseum. He will give them death, and they will love him for it.
Is this it?
No, continue.
DJ!
We're change scenes. Back at Zukaba, the gladiators were sitting in a cage, waiting for their turn to fight in the arena. Spaniard, Spaniard, Spaniard can be heard from the crowds. Maximus has gained popularity of the crowd, as well as a name for himself. Spaniard. Maximus stands and walks through the cage as the other gladiators call out, Spaniard! As he makes his way to the arena. Maximus enters the ring as the chants continue. When Maximus steps through the door, the crowd becomes silent. The opponents step back. Maximus pauses and slightly bows his head. Then he wades into them as the crowd cheers loudly. The opponents each wait to take on Maximus. Without hesitation, Maximus charges forward and machine-like and without emotion takes on and disposes of each opponent, one at a time. The final opponent has his head cut off by Maximus as he uses two swords to scissor cut his neck. Like this. That's what happened to me. Having quickly and soundly defeated his opposition, Maximus looks up at the crowd, bloody sword still in hand. He hurls one sword high into the stands, striking a table, startling all nearby, then calling out to the now silenced crowd.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
The crowd is entertained. The crowd silenced. Maximus throws the other sword to the ground, spitting in disgust, and begins to leave the arena. The crowd cheers uncontrollably. We change scenes. We're at Proximo's headquarters. Maximus standing nearby.
What do you want? Girl? Boy?
Maximus says, "You sent for me?" Standing straight as though at attention.
Yes, I did. You are good, Spaniard, but you're not that good. You could be magnificent.
I am required to kill, so I kill. That is enough.
That's enough for the provinces, but not for Rome. The young emperor has arranged a series of spectacles to commemorate his father, Marcus Aurelius. I find that amusing, since it was Marcus Aurelius, the wise, the all-knowing Marcus Aurelius, who closed us down. So finally, after 5 years of scratching, living in flea-infested villages, we are finally going back to where we belong, the Colosseum. Oh, you should see the Colosseum, Spaniard. 50,000 Romans watching every movement of your sword, willing you to make the killer blow. The silence before you strike, and the noise afterwards. It rises up like a storm, as though you were the thunder god himself.
You are Gladiator.
Yes, I was.
Responding nervously but proudly at the memory of his time gone by.
You want your freedom?
Long time ago, the old Emperor Marcus Aurelius presented me with a rudius. It's just a wooden sword, a symbol for your freedom. He touched me on the shoulder once, and I was free.
You knew Marcus Aurelius.
Maximus is doubtful.
I did not say that I knew him. I said he touched me on the shoulder once.
Maximus comes closer, lowering his voice.
You asked me what I want. I, too, want to stand in front of the Emperor as you did.
Raises his eyebrow.
Sorry.
And Proximo says...
Then listen to me. Learn from me. I wasn't the best because I killed quickly. I was the best because the crowd loved me. Win the crowd, win your freedom.
Maximus stands at attention as the soldier he was for so many years. But at the thought of freedom, he is indifferent, for without his family, what is freedom?
I will will the crowd. I will give them something they've never seen before.
Ha! So, Spaniard, we shall go to Rome together and have bloody adventures, and the great whore will suckle us until we are fat and happy and can suckle no more. And then, when enough men have died, perhaps you will have your freedom. Here, use this.
Proximo tosses Maximus a body shield of armor. As Maximus leaves, Proximo turns to look out the window, raising his arms in jubilee.
Finn.
And on that note, we want to thank everyone who has been watching or will be watching. After the fact, this will be our cutoff part 1. Going in next Saturday, same time, same place, for part 2 to see what will happen if you haven't seen the movie. And if you have, you know what's coming up next. Oh, dogs and everything are coming.
That's the one
part
from
2
Rob.
of Cabin Fever Radio.
Look into my eyes.
Look into my heart. Jaws. Jaws.
Anyway,
Wow.
Sorry, that's why I missed that last line. I was like,
Yeah.
Wow, wow,
That,
wow, wow.
that was very awesome. I loved it.
That was intense.
amazing. Yeah.
That was fun.
I right now, I legitimately am going to go, after this is all done, going to Amazon and buy the DVD. I mean,
Yeah.
or actually buy the Blu-ray. I love that movie.
It's
So how about get
it's a
over
great
here?
movie.
I know a few of you
Come on.
guys were going to watch it for the first time last night. Did everybody watch it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like,
Well, we didn't
So-
watch it last night.
Just be with us.
We just
definitely needed to watch it.
But
We
yeah,
just
no,
finished right now.
it was
Like,
amazing.
literally, like after about a minute.
In about a minute, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
happened? What's
agree.
going on? I'm sorry. What
No,
happened?
I'm just,
Oh no! No, my room.
What are you saying?
no, yes,
Huh?
no, yeah,
I can't hear ya.
yeah.
Shit.
I
Could
can't
you
hear
tell
you.
your
You got-
roommate to put her mic on so we can?
Yeah, give him a
She
mic.
went to go get like snacks or whatnot. So they get home.
Oh, we need snacks. We need.
I'll take
we
some
need
snacks. I'm a little
She's
peckish.
on her way back.
Yeah,
I
you want to
can't
bring
hear
snacks?
you.
Yeah.
I could eat,
all of
you
us?
know.
some
I
chips.
could,
Bring
I
some
could
to
eat
share with the
snacks.
class.
Lays.
Did somebody
Idaho
say
potatoes.
candy?
Hello,
Yeah,
friend.
well, I'm basically done, so I can still come right now.
Did anybody?
Yes.
Did
What
somebody
time you
say
guys leaving?
candy?
I would love
right
some
now.
You guys leaving?
now, actually.
I would love some chocolate.
Oh yeah, we'll probably. If anything, if you guys leave at 6:30, we'll probably leave at like 6:45 or something. Like that.
Anyone want to pick
Should-
these
should
up? Go.
No, I can't meet at 6:45. Let's try
No.
something else.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, it's 9:13. So are we talking about
It's actually
6:45
8:13, so I'm
a.m.?
pretty sure I can't meet.
Yeah.
4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
Okay.
He's sick of us. He's sick of our nonsense.
On that note, we will be rejoining Rob in his conversation on the post show.
He ditched us. Look, he ditched us.
Remember,
Straight up.
follow every single description that we have on the descriptions below, wherever it is that you're watching. If you're watching us on Twitch,
right here.
Facebook, YouTube, on our main website, cabinfeverradio.com.
I'm still
And
here.
You could find everything about all these amazing actors on our description. So be sure to check that out. I want to thank Rono Films for sponsoring the video, as well as you can be a supporter of this channel by going to patreon.com/cabinfeverradio. And you will get exclusive content that you can only see on Patreon, like our post show that will happen in about 5 minutes or so ish. As soon as we end this, we will have a post show that will be uploaded only to Patreon. So you will get exclusive content. Be sure to check out our Instagram. That is instagram.com/cabinfeverradio novellas. That is our official Instagram channel. Yeah, we did it like a couple days ago. I'm just kidding. How long did we do it? Like a week ago. We've been doing this for a while, and as you can see, we are still crazy. But that's the best part, and that is the point, because
Don't lose your head.
don't lose your head. That's actually from the Three Musketeers. D'Artagnan, don't lose your head. If you, we should do the Three Musketeers later. Oh, okay. So we're also going to discuss what we're going to do after Gladiator on the post show. So be sure to tune in to our patreon.com/cabinfeverradio. So on that note, I want to thank everyone who has joined, everyone who is watching, everyone who will watch and rewatch, and thank the cast. That is Robert Christopher Smith, Marissa Martin, Jess Barnell, Braxton Ray, Kelsey Jaffer, Someone Crunching, and Rob Fury. I am Mr. David Ronald, and you've been listening to Cabin Fever Radio.